and thanks for being here. So today's pattern that we are going to be making is the Aspen Crossbody. It came out in 2018, so it has been around for quite some time, and it was part of the Bag of the Month Club from Emmaline Bags. And it comes in a large and a small, and today we are going to be doing the small, and the measurements are 9 to 10 inches wide by 10 inches high by 3 inches deep. I have made several of these bags before. Here's an example of one that I have already made. Look at how beautiful this bag is. And of course, as always, before I forget, hi, I'm Teresa from Tree60 Handmade Bags, and welcome to my sewing studio. So this is an Aspen Crossbody bag that I have already made before. There's a lot of different ways that you can block your colors. This I used a metallic-y brown bronze faux croco from Amazon, and this beautiful waterproof canvas or water-resistant canvas is the Night Plants pattern from Emmaline Bags, and it has gorgeous watercolor print florals and leaves on it that are very, very fall-like. And there it is on the back. So this bag is really cool. So on the back, it features a slip pocket and another slip pocket. And on the front, there is a hidden zipper that you can, that's quite large and quite generous. I have it stuffed with tea towels right now, so it's a little firm. The one thing that's very, very unique about this bag is the zipper gusset. It sits in with the zipper tabs sitting up, so they're easy to grab. Either way, they're easy to grab and pull open your zipper, and it sits in. I'll just pull out all of this stuff. I'm just keeping the shape. And it has, I've used cotton canvas for the interior, but look at the size of this bag. It's absolutely huge. A very, very large zipper pocket on the inside as well. There is room if you want to put a slip pocket on this side. I just didn't feel the need to do that, but this is a very, very large and generous bag. And I love this zipper gusset closure because you've got the tabs right here. You don't have to go sticking them inside down the edges of your bag, and they sit right there. And actually, a lot of times what I do is if I'm carrying a water bottle, I'll just let it sit in here, and then I use the adjustable crossbody strap to and it stays in there. So I used webbing for the 1-inch adjustable crossbody strap. And so this is one that I have made, but this is the fabric we're going to be using today. Let me move all my tea towels out of my way. So I am going to be using that Night Plant water-resistant canvas from Emmaline Bags again. Everything I'm going to be using today is from Emmaline Bags. It's their pattern. Why not use all of their fabric as well? So this is going to be the feature on the front. It's going to look just like the one I showed you, except for it'll have different colors. And my strap this time I am going to be making out of the Night Plants fabric. So it is 4 inches wide to make a 1-inch wide strap. Just a quick note, when you're going to be cutting out your fabric, and say you only have a 1/2 yard or a 1/2 meter, make sure you cut if you're going to be making your own strap out of that same fabric, make sure you cut your strap length first, because then you don't want to be cutting your pieces of pattern and then all of a sudden have nothing left to make a full length strap. So that's just a quick little trick. So my strap is going to be made out of the same Night Plant water resistant canvas. The exterior is going to be made out of Emmaline Bags' new Prairie Faux leather, and this is the wood lily color. So look at how gorgeous these all go together. That is because this Night Plant water, it's hard to see, but there's some burnt oranges in there as well. And this wood lily is like a burnt orange pumpkin color. And then the interior lining is their water-resistant twill. And this one is in lavender or a very light mauve. So it's their water-resistant twill. It does fray and shed quite a lot, so just keep that in mind. but this will make a nice lining. I'm not interfacing anything because the wood lily, or the Prairie Faux leather, is a little firmer and has a little bit more stability than the Mora Faux leather. And I'm not going to do any interfacing. The lining that I'm going to be using, the Twill from Emmaline Bags, is quite stiff, so it doesn't need any interfacing. And of course, the water-resistant canvas is quite firm as well. The only thing that I will be adding is on the bottom gusset, there is a piece of foam that I will be putting in just to give the base a little bit more stability. And this is the sew-in foam that I have. It's from by Annie, and I think it's the soft and stable foam is what I have. So that's what I'm going to be using. The thread I'm using is Gutermann dark brown, heavy duty thread that I get from Walmart. And the zipper by the yard that I'm using, I get from Amazon. It does have antique brass teeth on it, but my hardware is going to be gunmetal. And then today, on that front hidden zipper pocket, we're going to be adding a tassel as well. And I get my hardware from Waywack. So get all of your stuff together and meet me back here in a sec, and we'll get making the Aspen Crossbody Bag by Emmaline Bags, and we'll see you in a minute. So we're going to start off by making our 1-inch wide finished strap, adjustable strap. So this strap length started as being 4 inches wide and about 55, maybe 60 inches long. And I already drew my center line down the center on the wrong side, and then I folded my raw edges into the center line and then folded the two folded edges together so that they meet evenly on this side. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance down this side, starting here, and then I'm going to come back to the top of this and I'm going to sew an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance going in the same direction on the way down. And the reason why you do that is it prevents any twisting of your strap when it has been finished. So that's what we're going to do now. I'll just turn you down and have you look that way. Sorry if you got dizzy. All right, so we're just sewing down an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance down the two folded edges. Oh, this doesn't want to stay on my shoulder. Fighting with the strap. Okay. If you hear any background noise, it's next door. They're having a new deck built. That's been going on for a couple of weeks. Okay. All right, so we're back at the top. I'm just going to trim my threads off. And then I'm going to start on this side and sew an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance down that side, going in the same direction I started with on the other side. Be a little faster, no clips. doing straightaways like this down my strap, give my machine a little bit of a workout. It gets it moving a little faster than what I'm used to sewing. All right, so I'm just going to put my strap aside for now. I'm not going to be doing anything with it at the moment. Just going to wrap it up just to keep it clipped. And then we'll look at it later when we're ready to attach it. Okay, so this is what we have. It's probably longer than what I really need it, but I've got it all stitched to 1/8 of an inch down both sides. All right, and I'll be back with the next step. Alrighty, so now we're going to be working on the interior lining. The pattern does call for a slip pocket on one of the interior lining panels, but I'm not going to do a slip pocket today. I'm going to do the zipper pocket on the inside. So the piece that you're going to be needing is your lining zipper pocket facing. And you're also going to need your shorter zipper that's in the pattern, zipper pull. Now I'm using number 5 zipper. She does call for number 3 zipper, but I'm using number 5, and a zipper pull, and then one of your interior lining panels. Now I'm using the Twill from Emmaline Bags, and it's really difficult to tell which is the right side and the wrong side. I go by feel, so this one side is rough and the other side is smooth, so I'm using the smooth side as the right side up. So I've marked my centers on my panel and on my zipper facing. And on the zipper facing in the pattern, there are measurements to mark your box and your center line and your little triangles. So I'm going to measure, here's my ruler, I'm going to measure down the measurement from the center that she has in the pattern. There's a certain distance from the center, and I'm going to line up my center mark on my zipper facing panel. I've drawn this box on the wrong side of the zipper facing. In this instance with the Twill, because the right and the wrong side look very similar, I'm not worrying about it, although I did put it on the rough side. So, and it's hard to see because these blend so well. But I'm lining up my zipper facing with the ruler line, and I can pin this because it is fabric. I'm not going to use painter's tape because that will it won't hold. All right, now that's probably gone wonky, that measurement. Okay, and we're just going to pin this into place so it doesn't move. I'll put one more down in the center. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch around this box and just around the perimeter of that box to create the zipper box. And I'm going to lower my my stitch length to a 2 because I like to have a smaller stitch length when I'm stitching around a zipper box. And make sure that you do your back stitching before and after as well. And of course, when we get to a pivot point, make sure that your needle is on the way up so you don't get that skip stitch across the corner. Needle is on the way up slightly, and then you pivot. And then you continue stitching. Now I do have my dark brown thread being stitched on top of the lighter lavender mauve twill, and I'm not going to worry. It's going to be looking like a contrast contrast stitching. All right, take the pins out. I don't use pins very often. I'll put my little guy back up there. Okay, so this is what we have so far. So before I go any further, what I do is, because I do have this is where I fight with the zipper facings to get them to stay on the other side. I am just going to put double-sided tape along the top edge of the top of the facing, because that'll help stick it on the underneath, and on the bottom edge for when I get it stuck in, because it doesn't matter whether I iron it or not. If you know this, you can iron this twill, but if even if I iron it, I still fight trying to keep it flat and not to have puckers. So I'm just going to finger press the edges where I've sewn. Maybe it is hard to see because this blends in so well. And just all the edges here. Move my pins, clips out of the way. Fingernails come in handy pretty good. That just helps to kind of fold it. And I'm going to take it and push it all to, oh, before I do that, I have to clip it. So along this line, the center line, we clip the edge, the stitching, and I'm just going to make sure it's lined up by feel. And I'm just going to make a quick snip down that center line. And then I use my scissors and snip all the way down the center line. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's not going to be seen. So if it's not perfectly centered, it doesn't matter. But when you snip and then you snip into the corners, make sure that you do not snip your stitching in that corner, that you stop just before the stitching. I have over snipped and I've had to go and sew the corner again. It's not a big deal, but it has happened. Okay, so I'm going to fight now with all of this. I fold everything and then turn it to the back. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to work with one edge at a time with the double-sided tape. This is what I do. This is what works for me. And I'm just going, it helps, and of course this helps when it does fold a little nicer. So I'm going to take off the backing of one edge of the double-sided tape on the long edge, and I'm going to make sure that when I fold this facing down and to stick it, that the seams along what we have stitched along the box line up nicely so that you don't see any stitching edge on this side. And the double-sided tape will hopefully stick. Some of this fabric it doesn't want to stick, but at least it gives a good, at least it does help it stay down. And then I'm going to pull the edges off, because this also helps to pull your corners so that your corners don't have any puckers. This is going better than it has in the past. And I just like to use my nail, and that helps to, better than finger press, I nail press along these edges, and then I'll take the double-sided tape off the long edge and then just fold it and make sure that everything, and there's no puckers. that everything is nice and crisp, because this is where you want to have some nice crisp edges. And an iron, I don't have my iron on, so I'm not worried about it. And then I'll just go to the right side and just use my thumb along that edge. Pull out. I can move the double-sided tape on the wrong side and help to pull out those corners so that they do sit flat and they're not puckered. Some materials, it's hard not to get those puckers in the corner. Okay, so this is what we have right now. Now we're going to take the shorter of our zippers that is in the pattern, and our zipper pull. Don't forget to put your zipper pull on. I have done that in the past. And to put your zipper pull on, when you look at your zipper tape, I use zipper by the yard, one of the teeth is always sitting a little higher than the other one wherever you cut it. When you pull it open, take your zipper pull and start it on the edge that has the higher tooth, and then feed the other side in. Here we go. It's going to pop off. Make sure your finger, I keep my finger on the top of it to make sure it stays on, because it always pops off. And you can see that it's not sitting straight. There's a bit of a bulge. Keep your finger on the top so it doesn't pull. Line up your zipper tape, your zipper teeth as best as you can. If one edge is slightly off on your zipper pull, then just move it gently up until it's straight. Push it down and it'll push down easy. You may even hear a click, and there you go. Your zipper pull is on without any issues. So what we're going to do is, actually that's not on without any issues. There's a little bit of a bulge. I'll just put it back on because I was doing this backwards. Okay. It's hard to do it backwards. Just line her up. All right, that's better. Okay, so I'm going to have it oriented that the zipper pull is closing to the left. Okay, so zipper, shortest zipper, that's the measurements in the pattern. The zipper pull is on, pulling close to the left, and I've marked my center of the zipper. Now with your zipper, interior zipper lining pocket pieces, right side up, I've also marked my centers. I put double-sided tape on the top edge of one of them, right side up, and I'm lining up the right side teeth up of the zipper along the edge, top edge of the zipper panel. Okay. Oh, my tape is stuck. All right, and then I'm going to sew that with 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. If your zipper pull is in the way, make sure that your needle is down and you lift your presser foot and move your zipper pull out of the way, but don't go as far as the end or it's going to go flying off. I have a feeling I should have used the longer zipper, but that's okay. It's going to still work. Okay, and then we're going to take our double-sided tape, and on the right side again on the other piece of the lining, zipper pocket lining, put double-sided tape along the top. Pull the backing off, and then on the other zipper side, then I better mark the center on that one too. Okay, and then we're going to line up the top edges so that when you open up your zipper, you're looking into the right side of the fabric. So when your zipper pocket is opened up and you're stuffing stuff inside, it's the right side of the pocket. And then we're going to stitch that on as well with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And I'm at the zipper pull, so I'm going to have my needle down and I'll pull the zipper pull out of the way. And I also make sure that my edges are lined up too. Okay. And I'm just going to fold this down, finger press this down. I'm just going to run over the edges, stitch over the edges of my zipper so that they don't go flying off like they just did. Put my zipper tape back on. Jeez. All best laid plans somehow get, sometimes they don't all work out the way you want them to. Okay, I'm just going to stitch over the ends of those zipper teeth just to make sure that nothing goes flying off again. Okay, that should keep them a little safer. All right, so zipper pull to the left. I'm just going to finger press, flip it onto the other side, and I'm just going to, well, just try and finger press this down. I'm just going to stitch these seams down to hold them down and hold them flat, and just stitch them at an 1/8 inch seam allowance, which will give a little bit of look of top stitching on the inside. Double-sided tape, I can feel it catching underneath. So just stitching these down at an 1/8 inch seam allowance, just to flatten that edge so that when I go to lay the zipper panel over top, it doesn't, it stays flat. And same with the other side. Okay, so this is what we have so far. Okay, and the zipper pull closes to the left, and that's the underside. So right now, this is the right side of the fabric, so that when you open up your zipper, you're looking down into the right side of the fabric. Okay. Now I'm going to put some double-sided tape. I don't have anything, there's the thinner stuff. So I'm just going to put some double-sided tape along the top edge of the zipper on both sides. Orient the lining panel and the zipper pull so it's going to the left. And I'm just going to pull off the top. It'll come off the top of the top backing of the double-sided tape. And I'm having trouble with my tape today. It doesn't want to stick to anything except for me. All right, so we're going to take the zipper facing lining piece and we're going to line it up. Your edges of your facing should meet the edges of your lining. They might be slightly off, but you can kind of feel that. It might be, they feel like a little bigger, but at least center your zipper over top of, center your panel opening, your zipper panel opening over top of the teeth. I like to, right here between the two short ends of the zipper box opening, that's where I center my teeth in between. And they kind of, then the rest of the zipper and I do it on both ends, and the rest of the zipper kind of falls into place. And I'm just making sure that everything is kind of centered on either side. Then take the edge that I just took the double-sided tape and center that, push it down, and then flip it up and take the other double-sided tape off the other end of it. Oh, this tape does not want to stick. It's a different type of tape that I'm using right now than what I usually have. Like I said, sticking to it's not sticking to anything but me. And then just line up your zipper. So this is what you have now. So now what we're going to be doing is stitching 1/8 of an inch seam allowance all around the box. And I have double-sided tape folded over on this edge, and I'm going to try and peel it off because it's going to stick to my sewing machine bed. There we go. I can pull it off. Okay, and then we're just going to stitch around. I'm going to leave the stitch length at 2, just like when I first sewed everything. And I'm going to back stitch over top of my zipper teeth just to make sure that they stay, that they get secured in. And then make sure that your needle's on the way up when you'd have your pivot point at your corners. And then I'll stitch down 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, or 1/16 of an inch, however that works. Okay, so I'm coming up to my zipper pull. So my needle is down. I lift my presser foot up and pull the zipper pull out of the way, and then continue stitching. And I'm lifting it up because I can feel that double-sided tape is catching underneath on my my sewing machine, the bed. And okay, I'm at the corner, pivot, go over the teeth a couple of times. I could have pulled the threads to the back, but I decided not to do that today. Move the zipper pull out of the way. All right, and then finish off that end. Okay, this is what we have so far. And I also forgot to mention that when you're sewing this, both your top and bottom part of your lining is splayed open like a butterfly wing. So now when we look into we haven't sewn up the zipper pocket yet, but when we look down into it, you'll be looking down into the right side of the fabric. Now, one of the things I do want to do, okay, so flip it over to the wrong side, and you've got your two pieces splayed open like this. So this is your top, this is your bottom. When you fold your top part down, so what I do is I just clip clip the top and the bottom together, just to make sure that they're lined up. And that there won't be any bulging or puckering. Actually, I'll flip them this way. That's how I'm going to sew them. Okay, and you do have one edge that's longer than the other. I'm not worrying about that. What we're going to be doing is sewing down this side and sewing down this side, but we're leaving the bottom open, so that's our turning hole. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put double-sided tape along the bottom edge of the short edge. And I'm going to turn that, I'm going to take the double-sided tape and fold it up and stick it. And it's all now starting to fray quite nicely. So this will give us a nice seam for when we do eventually sew this hole up. And then I'm just going to flip it over, pull the top lining out of the way, and then I'm going to run double-sided tape down this edge. The double-sided tape has run out. Now this is the longer edge, so it doesn't really matter. You could have cut it if you wanted to, I just didn't. Pull the double-sided tape, and I'm going to fold it up so that this folded edge of the long edge meets up with the folded edge of the one on the underside, the shorter one that we just did. And then fold those up, and then clip the sides. So this is what we have now on the underside. Both these edges are folded and they meet, so we're going to stitch down this side and this side. But how we're going to do that is we're going to take it and have the front part of the lining facing you, right side up. We're going to pull back the one edge, and we're going to, first of all, you're going to see double-sided tape, because that's what I used to hold my facing down in order to keep it flat so I can make this box. I'm going to pull off this exposed double-sided tape first, and then I'm going to sew all the way down from the top and all the way down the edge, about a quarter of an inch in seam allowance, maybe 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. But first I'm going to start, actually there's room to do that, so I'm going to start up here and follow this folded line and make sure I catch that little triangle in my stitching, and then I'm going to follow it all the way down. And maybe when I get past the zipper, I'll go over the zipper teeth a couple of times as well. And when I get past that point, then I can kind of graduate off to the edge here to about a quarter of an inch, and do that on both sides. So the first thing is to get rid of that double-sided tape that's there, and then graduate down. So it's nice that the double-sided tape comes off very easily too. If it's in the way, and if there's anything left underneath, it doesn't matter. It'll just help stick the bag together. Most of my bags are held together with double-sided tape. It's a great, that and Velcro, two great inventions. Get that off too. Okay, so I'm going to stitch down the one side, starting right along this edge, but I'm not going to catch any of this folded edge in the stitching. All I want to make sure is to ensure that that triangle is stitched down so that there's no chance of it pulling in onto the right side of the zipper box. I'm just going to leave my stitch length at 2 right now. It doesn't really matter. And I'll make sure I go over those zipper teeth a couple of times just to make sure that they're secure. Okay, and I just got past that point, so now I'm just going to graduate over to about 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, just so that the bottom part of the zipper pocket is wider. You have a little bit more width in there to stuff all your junk in. And when I get to the end where those folded edges are, I just backstitch. Okay, and I'm just going to go down and do the other side. Fold that top part over. And I'm just sewing over top of that, that little triangle, securing it and the zipper teeth down. Okay, and so now I'm just going to graduate over to the edge to give it about 1/4 of an inch, 3/8 of an inch seam allowance on the edge. Okay, so that's what we have on the underside. So you can see where I started and then graduated over to the edge. And this is what it looks like on this side. Let me fold it. And I've caught that little triangle on both sides. And then now when you open up and of course the bottom edge is open, it's not stitched, so that when you open up your zipper pocket, your interior zipper pocket, you have a really nice zipper pocket. And there you go, hello. And then we'll seal that up at the end after we have finished our bag. So there is your interior zipper pocket lining, and the other lining doesn't have a slip pocket on it, it's just going to be left bare. All right, I will be back. Okay, so now we are going to work on the top zipper gusset. So you're going to need your zipper ends. Oops. You're going to need your longest zipper, and make sure that your zipper pull is on, and you stitch about 1/2 inch from each edge to secure the ends of your zipper tape after you put your zipper pull on. And then you're also going to need your zip gusset strips, and there's 4 of those, and there's 2 of the zipper ends. So right now we're going to work on the zipper ends. Now in the pattern she has a specific way of doing them if you're using cotton or canvas, and I'm using the Prairie faux leather, so I'm not doing them the same way as she has in the pattern. But I'm just going to sew these on and fold. So this is going to be bigger than what is in the pattern, and I'll just cut them down. So right now I'm putting the faux leather face down. Actually, I can probably cut one of these in half. Yeah, I'll just cut one of these in half because I don't need the 2 of them if I'm doing them this way. So I'm just cutting them down the short way, because they will fit and they'll work better. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put the right side of your zipper up, so zipper teeth up. The right side of the faux leather is right side together with the zipper teeth, and I'm going to line that up straight on both ends. And I'm going to sew this on with 1/4 inch seam allowance. So I'm kind of making my own kind of zipper tabs. So I'm just going to stitch that on at 1/4 of an inch. Okay, so this is what we have now on both ends. So I'm going to fold up this end, and I'm going to, first of all, I'm going to put some double-sided tape on the wrong edge because I'm going to fold that down, and then I'm going to fold this folded edge in to meet with the, so that these edges are going to meet here. And then I'm going to stitch across. I'm going to stitch a box around it. But I'm just going to put some double-sided tape down on the wrong side of that one raw edge on both pieces. So I can just fold it over easily. It doesn't want to come off. All right, there's one edge. So just fold it over like about 1/8 of an inch. And then I'm going to fold it over again. So that these edges are going to meet. And I'll just clip that in place. And they'll be trimmed afterwards as well. And do the same on the other end. The other way that she has it is quite a nice, it's a nice way of doing the zipper tabs. But because I wanted to use the faux leather to give it a little bit more of a substance for a zipper pull tab, it's a little, you know, the faux leather doesn't work the same as a cotton or a canvas. Okay, and I just fold that over to meet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch across here at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, keeping in mind, I'm going to go 1/8 of an inch all the way around, but keeping in mind that these edges are wider than the zipper tape. So when I get to about here on the zipper tape, then I'll go up and make sure that the box is within the zipper tape. And then I'll trim those edges off after. So I'll do that on both ends. And I'm going to do that on the right side because I'm going to pull the threads to the back so you don't see any back stitching. So I'll stitch on the right side. Just to make it look a little neater. My stitch length is still at a 2. I haven't changed it yet. That's not a big deal. So okay, so I'm just going to pull my threads to the back on this side. A little tight in here to do it. I'm not looking at the right spot of my glasses. Okay. Just want to tie those so I know which ones I've already pulled through. And now I'm going across the zipper teeth at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Match up the other end. Okay, and then I'll pull the top thread through on this side. There we go. And then just tie them to the back. And then just take the lighter to those ends. And then do the same for the other side. Oh, and I'll pull the threads. Hopefully I left room. Okay. Okay, so my thread broke and I had to rethread my machine. So of course that messed up my top stitching for this box, but what I did was I just started it where the thread broke, pulled my tails to the back and tied them at the back there, and then tied them at the back when it came to the other ones. So now we have this overhang of where we've stitched. So I'm just going to trim that off in line with the edge of my zipper so that that's straight. Stitching isn't as straight as it could be. Now you could edge paint these edges. I'm not going to edge paint, but I can take, I'm just going to take the lighter to the edge just in case there's any fuzzies there and help to seal those edges a little bit. And if there's any stray threads. Just to the edge of both these so that we have our zipper tabs here. There's a stray thread under here, tucked under. There. And along the edge here, just to melt the edges a little bit. Okay, so there we have it, both our zipper ends, and I'll be back. So this is what we have so far. We have our top zipper with the zipper pull on and both of our zipper ends completed. I have done my zipper ends different than what is in the pattern because I'm using the faux leather and it wouldn't work the same way as what is written in the pattern using cotton or canvas. So the next step now is to get your zipper gusset strip piece pattern. You've got 4 pieces of that. And what you're going to do is they all look like this. And there's 4 of them, and I've put double-sided tape on either end, and you fold them over about 1/4 of an inch. Light's in the way. You fold them over on each end 1/4 of an inch. I've already marked the centers on my pieces, and I've marked, of course, the centers on my zippers with the notches out. So you just fold over the edge that has the double-sided tape. And what you need to make sure is that all 4 pieces are the equal length and that my center marks are going to match up as well. Okay, so this is what I have. I folded them over on both ends. So I've already done the other three, and I'm just lining them up just to make sure that they're all the same length, first of all. just to be on the safe side. Yep, and they all match, and that all the center marks match as well. All right, so I'm just going to move you down to see my desk. Okay, my coffee. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a strip of double-sided tape over the top edge. Make sure when you have your zipper lined up on your desk. Let's see if I can move you down a little bit more. There we go. Okay, when you have your zipper lined up on your desk, you want to make sure that your zipper pull is oriented into the way that you want it to close. So I have it pulling to the left to close. I'm going to make sure that the zipper pull is out of the way of the center. And actually, in this instance, you can pull it all the way to the end because these pieces are not going to make it to the end where your zipper pull is. So I'm just going to run some double-sided tape along the top edge of the zipper because I know it'll stick to the zipper tape, and it does not stick very well to this waterproof canvas. So, and I may overshoot a little bit with the double-sided tape as far as the length that I use. And I may not have enough. So just pull off the backing, and your zipper is right side up with the teeth up. And then I'm going to take one of my, doesn't matter which, they're all the same. They all look the same. So I'm just going to take one of my pieces with the folded ends, and I'm going to match the center with the center on the zipper. And I'm going to have it right side down. So the right side of the zipper is matching the right side of the waterproof canvas. And I'm just going to stick it to the double-sided tape, lining up the edges, using my nails to really make sure that it stays. I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to put another strip of double-sided tape along the top of the zipper. This is what creates that really cool zipper facing that sits down into the bag. It's a really nice, the way that it's been done. And I'm going to take another piece of my canvas, and I'm going to be putting it right side down. So right now, the wrong side of your zipper is facing up. The right side of the other facing that you just stuck on is facing right side up, and the zipper is wrong side up. And you put it face down, right side down against the zipper tape. And when it's on, when you have it stuck on, make sure before you sew that these edges, that the edges are matching, that one's not sitting out of whack from the other, so that on both ends you've got your edges meeting and matching. And if they don't, then you can use the double-sided tape on the ends to pull it off, refold it just to make sure that everything matches. I'm just going to put a clip on this end only because of the fact that I didn't put enough double-sided tape on that edge. All right, so on this one, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be stitching. It says 3/8 of an inch its seam allowance in the pattern only because of the fact of the width of the zipper, but I don't ever change my zipper foot. I don't ever change my presser foot to a zipper foot. So I'm just going to stitch along. Mine winds up to be 1/4 of an inch. So we're going to do that. Just stitch 1/4 of an inch and sew the zipper on to onto the facing. Now that zipper is in the way. I have to move my zipper up and move it into the center a little more so I can get around that. Now, when you're stitching, don't start your stitching up into the zipper because you're going to see that stitching when the bag is done. Start your stitching right where the two edges meet and don't overshoot onto the zipper tape. Okay, my zipper pull is now in the way, and I'll move it out of the way. Coming up to the end, so I'm just going to be very careful about making sure that I don't stitch over onto the zipper tape. Better move my coffee out of the way or I'm going to send that flying. Okay, so this is what we have so far. So now I'm going to take each edge or each zipper facing panel, and I'm going to finger press it up against and pull it away from the zipper tape on both sides. And one thing with this canvas is it does fold quite nicely without needing an iron. And then I'm just going to take and make sure, see the edges aren't meeting, I'm going to make sure that the edges do meet, and I'm going to clip those. And then I'm just going to make sure that the front and the back edges meet, and just clip all the way down, because what we're going to do is we're going to be top stitching an 1/8 of a seam allowance, 1/8 inch of a seam allowance along the zipper, and then baste all the other raw edges. And my centers meet perfectly. That's great. Love it. Okay, so I'm just going to pull that away just to smooth that folded edge along the zipper. Okay, so this is what we have. So I'm going to start at one edge, one short edge, and I'm going to baste up an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. I'm going to do top stitching along the top here, an 1/8 of an inch, and then I'm going to go down this edge and then finish that edge. And this will seal up your facing. Okay, and I'm just at that pivot point. One more stitch. All right, an 1/8 of an inch top stitching. And I have increased my seam allowance or my stitch length to a 3 now. I had it down to a 2 before, so I've changed it up to a 3. Oh, I hear Murphy, he's coming in. I can hear his nails. I'm just sewing down now along the bottom raw edge. All right, so there we have the one side already done. And now I'm just going to do exactly the same thing with the other edge of the zipper. And when I put these facings on this edge, I'll make sure that the edges, these folded edges match this folded edge. Use this edge here. Okay, excuse me. I love it when things line up. to make sure it sticks, I'm going to flip it over, excuse me, and put another line of a row of double-sided tape on the wrong side of the zipper now. Okay, so we have the wrong side of the zipper up, and we have the right side of the other facing we just sewed on. So now I'm going to put the right side of this last facing right side down against the wrong side of the zipper. And everything's lining up. And then I'm just going to sew that on, starting at the edge, very edge of the facings and not onto the zipper. And I'm back stitching before and after. Okay, so there we have that, and this side, so I'm just going to pull these up and finger press up on both sides, matching the edges. And lining up the bottom raw edges to make sure that they're even. Okay, so I'm just going to pull it away from the zipper, itself, just to kind of get a bit of an edge there. Smooth it out. Okay, and then I'll stitch around it again at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. And top stitch along the zipper. I'll put my clips on upside down. Oh well. And as I'm sewing this, I'm going to be pulling both facings away from the zipper so that there isn't any puckering or buckling. I'm just coming up to the other folded edge, so I don't want to overshoot anything. All right, so there we have our zipper facing now. So that's the right side, the side that we're going to see, and there's the wrong side. All right, and I'll be back with the next step. Okay, so now we are going to need our 2 inner top facing pieces of the pattern. We are going to need the inner zipper facing that we've just created, and we're going to need one of our inner lining panels. So this is I'm going to do it, start with the panel that I didn't put anything on. That's going to be at the back of the purse. So when the purse is up against you, that's going to be against your body. So right side up for the lining, interior lining. And then on your zipper, inner zipper facing that we've created, I have double-sided tape. And I'm going to line up my centers. So the right side of the lining is up. The right side of your zipper, inner zipper facing is right side up. So teeth up. Your zipper pull is oriented to pull to the left to close. And I'm going to line up the edges, pull it down a little closer to me, and line up the raw edges with the double-sided tape so that it's centered. And my zipper pull is still out of the way because it just makes it easier for sewing. And I'm going to run another strip of double-sided tape along that top edge, which is the right side of the inner zipper facing. And pull the backing off. And then I'm going to take one of my zipper inner top facing, sorry, is that the right one? One of the ones that we've just done, and I'm going to put it right side together with the right side of our inner zipper facing and line up the edges. I think I was going to do this one. That one might line up. Okay. Matching the centers, lining all of this up. And it does match from edge to edge. And I'm just going to clip these edges that don't have double-sided tape on them, so I don't lose them. And we are now going to stitch that on at our regular seam allowance. Remembering to backstitch at the start and end. Okay, just like this, and that's the wrong side. Then we're going to fold this up, finger press this newly sewn piece on, and then so that the edge, the seam allowance is pointing upward. This is being folded upward, and we're going to do a 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, or 1/8 of an inch seam allowance for top stitching along the top edge. And this creates that little, the gusset, like the zipper facing being inset into the top of the bag. And it creates a really nice opening that you're not fighting with zipper ends being stuffed down the end of your bag. Trying to find your zipper ends. They're all here. All right. So this is what we have so far. So I'm going to repeat the same step with this edge, I'm going to flip this edge up. And I'm going to put some double-sided tape along the top of that. So that's right side up. Oops. Before I do that, we need the other side. All right, so this is the zipper side. This is going to be that when you open the bag, that's going to be the front of the bag. When you look into it, I want to make sure that that doesn't get missed. Okay, so that is being laid down right side up. And I'm going to put double-sided tape on the wrong side of this raw edge. And line that up with the so this part is right side up, and your lining, your zipper pocket lining is right side up. And then another strip of double-sided tape. This time I'm going to go from this edge to this edge, just so that they all meet. And this, like I said, this twill does fray a lot, but it is really nice to work with. It's beautiful for a lining, and that you don't have to worry about interfacing it like you would if it was just straight cotton. And it has more of a structure than water resistant canvas, even though that's a little heavy duty as well. All right, so I am just seeing where I want my flowers to go. If I flip that up, I'll do it that way. And then I'm placing the facing down right side together with the right side up of this edge, making sure that everything lines up. Okay, and then I'm going to do my sew it on with the seam allowance in the pattern. Make sure my zipper pull is out of the way. This bag would look amazing in denim as well. Give it that kind of hippie vibe from the 60s, 70s. Okay. All right, so making sure that your seam allowance is going upward, fold that facing upward as well. And then we're going to top stitch along here, 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. And that'll secure that seam, that stitching from underneath. I just pull this top facing away from the stitch line just to make sure that there aren't any puckers or bulges. This canvas frays as well. And this is what we have so far. So there is our zipper. Already, our zipper gusset. And then when you do open it up, you'll open it up and you'll be able to look inside the bag. All right, let's see what the next step is. All right, so now we are going to be sewing our two interior lining pieces together. So you put them together, right sides together, ensuring that your seams on this side and this side are matched up and lined up as perfect as you can get them on both sides. That's the important part, because you don't want to see one slightly out of whack from the other. And then you mark in the pattern for the small that we're making, there's a certain measurement to mark your squares to cut out, because this is where we're going to box the corners. And what we're going to be doing, so I'm just going to cut the corners out right now. Now in the pattern, she says if you're going to be pulling the lining through, birthing your bag through the zipper pocket opening that we left here, then you can sew straight across the bottom of the lining, which is what I'm going to do. And that way you're not going to have like a folded sewn edge on the inside. So I'm going to, she doesn't say in the pattern about what seam allowance, but it would be the seam allowance in the pattern to sew down this edge and this edge and then across the bottom. Now she has the hot tip in the pattern to make sure your zipper is open so that if it's not open, and I've done that before, I've forgotten to open it. So make sure that that's open. And what we're going to do is sew down both sides of the bag first and then the bottom. Remembering to back stitch at the top and on the bottom of each edge, at the edge. And I'm just going to run over that seam twice. Okay. Oops, I'm getting caught. My clips are catching on the edge of my desk. All right, I'm just going to sew down the other side now, starting at the top. Fold this part in so it doesn't get caught. My clips want to get caught on everything here on the edge. This is backwards sewing for me on this side. Just reinforcing that joined where the seams match. Just making sure my zipper is pulled out of the way so it doesn't buckle the material and it doesn't get caught in the stitching. And now I'm just going to sew along the bottom. Okay. So this is what we have so far. Now what we're going to do, because the zipper is open, we're going to now box these corners. So I just stick your hand inside and take one corner, grab each of the corners like that so that they line up, and your seams from the sides, make sure that they match together and that they line up. And then I'm going to fold one of the seams this way so that it nests, and I'm going to fold the other one that way so that the seams nest together and there's not as much bulk at that join. And then just line up those edges. And then repeat for the other side. And what I like to do is I like to, when I join those two seams together, I like to see which way I folded the other side so that I make sure that seam is folded that way and this seam goes the other way so that they nest together. Oops. And then I'm going to sew these shut at the seam allowance in the pattern. And then also I'm going to do a double row of stitching just to secure that and make sure it doesn't pop open. Making sure that you back stitch at the start and the stop. And I'm going to go over top of those the joined seams, just to give it a little bit more reinforcement as well. I'll just do my double stitching now. What are you doing? I know, you want to say hi. And then I will repeat on the other side. Oh, he's bugging the cat. All right, so there we have our sides have now been sewn. Our bottom is sewn, and we now have our boxed corners. And yes, I know I'm using brown. It just saves a lot of time from switching out my thread, and it's not noticeable on the right side. Okay, so we will see what the next step is.